Just a few days out from National Spring Training, what position group do you feel most confident in heading into camp? I'll answer that after this.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals for all your latest Nationals news and notes. Check us out over on Twitter. And while you're at it, search up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts. And that is where you'll find your daily coverage of the Washington Nationals. And hit that subscriber button wherever you get your pods. Later on in today's program, we have baseball to watch in less than 3 weeks. I believe, actually, game 1 is against the Houston Astros on February 22nd down at West Palm Beach. Let's talk about some baseball. Second segment of today's program, let's look at some remaining free agents, and could it make sense for the Nationals to sign any of these guys, like Alex Bregman? We'll discuss that a little bit later on in today's program, but we start off discussing which position group do you and I feel most confident in heading into free agency? I've got one main answer, but I've also got a secondary one that I'll explain after we tell you about today's sponsor, which is FanDuel and Gametime. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So we get into it today discussing which position group do you feel most confident in heading into spring training? And I said I kind of have two answers here, but there really is one answer. And right now, sitting here today, it is the outfield. Right now, you could make the case that the Nationals have one of the brightest, youngest outfielding position groups in all of baseball at this point. And there's also more to come down in the minor league system. Let's start and take a look at James Wood. James Wood is entering year number 2 here with the Nationals, where he's still technically going to be entering his rookie season. But James Wood, he was the number 1 prospect in all of baseball last year at some point during the summer before he got called up. And James Wood did not disappoint. In fact, he blew by my expectations for what I was expecting when he first came up into the big leagues. Looking at James Wood, just him, by the way, James Wood is going to be a superstar. Like, there are no ifs, ands, or buts about it as far as James Wood goes. I think that this guy is going to be sort of the face of this franchise moving forward, and I think for pretty good reason, by the way. He is, number 1, a freak of nature out there. This is someone who could steal 20 bags. He is someone who could easily hit 20 home runs. He's going to play solid defense, and I do expect him to improve as he gets used to left field moving forward. But James Wood has all the tools that check the boxes for him being a potential superstar down the road, and not that far off, by the way. So he is the ringleader of this group, in my opinion. And then you also get to, in some cases, the current number 1 prospect in all of baseball who sits in right field. That is Dylan Cruz. Dylan Cruz, in my opinion, is going to be like the Mr. Consistent of the offense and as well as the defense, and really just throw it in there for the whole team. I think that this guy is going to be an all-star nearly every single season. I think he's going to put up Gold Glove caliber defense in right field or in center field, wherever he decides to stick. And then also, I think he has the capabilities to be a Silver Slugger winner in right field or in center field. And again, Dylan Cruz is going to be in that conversation as far as Silver Sluggers go. That is a loaded right field and center field, and whichever way you look at it. But I still think Dylan Cruz is going to be one of the faces of this organization. And really, right now, the Nationals have not had young talent like this in the building easily since 2019. But even then, you look at 2019, it was Victor Robles, who we all know what happened, flared out, did not work out here, went to the Mariners last year, and has done well. Juan Soto, no introduction needed. You know the name, you know what it is. But really, outside of the young talent there wasn't much. You have these two guys who, again, both of whom have been number one prospects in all of baseball within this last calendar year. And James Wood and Dylan Cruz will be a tandem in this outfield that will hopefully haunt the NL East for years to come. This is the group that, in my opinion, you should be the most excited about. And that's not even to mention the best defensive center fielder, in my opinion, in all of baseball from this past season, Jacob Young. While he did not win the National League Gold Glove Award in center field, he should have. He had the best numbers in all of baseball in center field. Defensive runs saved, everything that you would want from a Gold Glove center fielder, Jacob Young did just that. Now, where again, you might be listening and you have maybe listened to this show a lot over the last year or so. I've been hard on Jacob Young. I think Jacob Young is the weak link of this outfield trio here. But James Wood and Dylan Cruz by themselves do just fine. But Jacob Young, he could make this group even more elite and someday being one of the better outfield groups in all of baseball, in my opinion. And really, there is a conversation to be had about them being already in the top 5, just from what they have done. And if you add Jacob Young to the mix, someone who lacks power, is not really all that good offensively, but let's say Jacob Young gets on base at a better clip than what he did last year. Let's say he gets on base at like a 38% clip going into this season. Then we are talking about a lethal outfield trio between Jacob Young, Dylan Cruz, and James Wood. And in all 3 different categories, by the way. Jacob Young is a stud defensively. A stud. The best defensive guy that we have by far and away. And then James Wood, who's going to bring the power, who's going to be that superstar guy, 6'7", freak of nature. Good luck getting past him at the plate. And then you have Dylan Cruz, who again is like Mr. Consistent. Someone who does it all, checks all the boxes, can hit for power, can hit for average, can play good defense. He does it all, and he does it all well. The outfield is the group that you have to be most confident in. Now, what we were saying, though, there was a second group that I think deserves a little bit more shine, and that is the starting pitching group. I do think the Nationals overall could have done more to help this starting pitching staff. But looking at it from the top, you have Mackenzie Gore, who I expect to have a very good season this year, maybe around a 3.3 ERA, striking out 11 to 12 guys per 9 yet again, and getting that walk rate down. Then you have Jake Irvin, who at times last year, he was the Nationals' best pitcher in the staff. And you also have a left-handed pitcher with DJ Hers, who, oh, by the way, is already down in West Palm Beach getting work in right before pitchers and catchers report. Then you have down the line Josiah Gray, Mitchell Parker flashed a lot this last year, Michael Soroka, who the Nationals tend to believe that he's going to be a piece of this rotation moving forward. You've got a lot of different guys on this starting rotation staff. Now, again, there are more question marks in the staff rather than the outfield because, again, I think James Wood and Dylan Cruz are surefire, going to be really good baseball players, and Jacob Young is a great defender, but what will he be offensively? That is the big question there. Overall, the Nationals, they've got 2 solid groups. Now, don't get it twisted. They still need to get some work done, and they still need to have a better system in order to try to get themselves back into October baseball, which may or may not happen this year. They may surprise us. But overall, right now, I don't think this team is October ready, at least right now. But there are still some free agents out there who could get them into that space. Now, who, you might ask? Let's go through some of the free agents remaining. And deal or no deal, can the Nationals sign this player? We'll discuss that after we tell you about our friends over at PrizePicks. And of course, I have talked about PrizePicks, and the big game is almost here. And there's no better way to make it even more exciting than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports with over 10 million members and billions in winnings awarded. PrizePicks makes it fun and simple to get in on the action. Here's how it works. You pick more or less on at least 2 players' projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. PrizePicks even has a free pick for the big game where Patrick Mahomes only needs to throw 1 yard to win. Come on, 1 yard to win. Pair that with one more correct pick, and you're cashing out. This week, I'm looking at the board and selecting more for Travis Kelce on receiving yards and more for a quarterback's passing yardage. What I love most, fast, safe withdrawals. When I win, my cash is in my account in as little as 15 minutes. And check out the promos tab to tail any of the Super Bowl Millie winners big game lineups. If you tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can win a split of $1 million in promo funds. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So we just discussed who could be the best position group for the Washington Nationals, and we said the outfield. So we're not going to talk about any free agents who are outfielders because, again, that is set in stone. But I do think the Nationals need some work and maybe some veteran bats, some relieving guys. We'll see. The 40-man roster is set as of today, but they could still make some moves to get some veterans in the building. And I think some of these guys would be pretty smart. First and foremost, let's start out with the biggest name out there. Alex Bregman. The Nationals will have no deal with Alex Bregman. Let's just get that out of the way and not explain it all too much, besides the fact that he is going to cost way too much money. The Detroit Tigers, who were a team in the last few years who haven't really spent in free agency besides Javi Baez, which blew up in their face, they are expected to land Alex Bregman at some point, and as well as the Houston Astros, who are still in the mix. And other than that, those are the 2 teams who are in the running for Alex Bregman. He's not going to be a Washington National. We have known that really since mid-November, late November. That was never going to be the case. But now you also have guys who are bigger names out there that you may have kind of forgot about. Like, for instance, Pete Alonso, again, not going to happen. I hate to be that guy. I hate to throw a wet blanket on a potential good story here in DC, but that's not going to happen. It's just not. But now, here is someone who I have kind of been clamoring for over the last year or so. Really, over the last year, heading into free agency last year and now this year. JD Martinez. Now, I don't see the Nationals going after him at this point in time. Josh Bell, they signed. He's probably going to be the DH of this team moving forward. But JD Martinez, at 37 years old, he had a 3 WAR this past season. And I think that he is someone that the Nationals should have and should consider going after and making a move for. Number 1, power. That is the word that I have said the most this offseason. The Washington Nationals need power. JD Martinez brings that. And yes, he might be 37 years old. This might be Nelson Cruz 2.0 when you're signing someone who may be he's definitely past the prime of his career, but someone who may be on the downfall, you could say, and not really helping out all too much. We could be wrong, and that might just be the case. But why not kick the tires on JD Martinez? Why not at this point? I think the Nationals should be in that bucket trying to shop for a JD Martinez type. Now, again, Josh Bell is going to be the DH this year. At first base, you've got Nathaniel Lowe. That is pretty much locked up. But why not bring in a veteran who has won a World Series, who has been in MVP talks, who has, again, won another World Series just All he has done is win throughout his career and hit for power and be a very good all-around baseball player. And also, by the way, a great clubhouse leader. These are the guys, in my opinion, where I would have wanted the Nationals to go after someone like JD Martinez. Or even, in this case, maybe another quote-unquote washed veteran, like let's say a Matt Carpenter type. He was not good last year, unequivocally so. But if you brought him in to at least be a leader in this clubhouse, that is valuable to this team. One of the biggest voids this offseason, in my opinion, that we necessarily did not get filled was losing Patrick Corbin. I can tell you this right now, Patrick Corbin, who obviously is not going to get signed to a major league deal, at least you would think that heading into spring training, Patrick Corbin was still a leader in this clubhouse. I have been to West Palm Beach, and fortunately, I am able to actually be in the clubhouse down at West Palm as well. Patrick Corbin is the guy who holds team meetings at his house, who houses Mackenzie Gore when he comes down for West Palm Beach. Patrick Corbin is the guy of this team who was the leader the last few years. Now, you can save your punchlines, and it's an easy one to make of like, well, what else is he going to do? But that was of value to this team. And Davey Martinez certainly does value that today even. But we sit here right now and we don't necessarily have that guy where everyone is going to rally around. The past is gone. Like, guys remaining on this roster who are aging vets who have been here, who have done it with Davey Martinez, they're all pretty much gone. And we don't necessarily have a leader. So I'm going to be interested to see who steps up this spring training. But that was just a side quest from what we were talking about here with Nationals free agencies. But I did want to get that off my chest here really quick. Something that I think the Nationals sneaky really need. It's not even sneaky anymore, but they need bullpen help. And who's on the market that some people have actually thrown the Nationals into contention to sign this former All-Star? It's Kenley Jansen. Kenley Jansen, 37 years old, coming off a decent year with the Boston Red Sox. This would be that guy who I think would be a clubhouse leader, would be a solid contributor in this back end of the bullpen, which, by the way, needs a lot of help. Or you could even bring back a Kyle Finnegan type if you're feeling, or actually, rather, you can't really bring back a Kyle Finnegan at this point in time. But let's say they want to. Let's say you want to go after one of these back-end relievers. You need someone that is going to hold down the end of this bullpen. I believe in Jose Frere, and I think right now he is the closer of this team. But also with that said, Jose Frere is a young guy. I'm not sold on him being the man moving forward. Like, I believe that he will be, but I'm not going to put $1,000 on him. I'm not going to put the house on this guy being the closer of this team. I think he'll be a great bullpen guy, but will he be the closer? Who knows at this point? He's way too young to tell. The Nationals should always try to shore up the back end of this bullpen. And just, oh, by the way, when you're talking about some of these relief pitchers who haven't really done all too much at the back end of their career, Kenley Jansen would be someone who would be, again, a clubhouse leader, and he would be an effective bullpen guy for the Nationals moving forward. But nonetheless, I do believe the Nationals overall are likely done with their spending. Maybe they bring in some minor league infights. Maybe you bring in someone like a Joey Gallo for a minor league invite. Maybe you bring in some other older vets that have been around the league before. I don't know who that could look like. Maybe you bring in like a Austin Voth at one point. Maybe, who knows what the Nationals could do. Tyler Matzik, who at times with the Atlanta Braves was nails for them over the last few seasons and who killed the Nationals. He's 34 years old. He's still out there. Maybe you bring someone like that in, but we'll see what the Nationals ultimately decide to do. I'll tell you this, I'm not feeling all too confident, though, in them getting into big free agent spending moving forward. We'll tell you guys about spring training as we are less than 3 weeks away from the Nationals taking the field on February 22nd, that Saturday, against the Houston Astros at Cacti Park, where they share the facilities with that said Astros team. We'll discuss that and preview that game, and as well as some spring training matchups that you're going to want to look forward to after we tell you guys about our friends over at Gametime. And of course, I can tell you this, that I have attended so many NFL games over my career. And I can tell you, I remember the excitement and energy of a playoff game that I attended just a few years ago. And I'm looking forward to making new memories this postseason. Gametime is a new feature called Gametime Picks that make getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Let me tell you this, if you're going to the Super Bowl down in New Orleans, first off, I am jealous. And second off, I can tell you, use Gametime Picks so you can find tickets for an upcoming NFL playoff game like the Super Bowl and browse through the deals. It was always simple for me, and I found great value for all kinds of seats around the venue. The Super Deal was especially impressive, offering the best value for the event. The app's features like seat views before you buy and all-in pricing with no surprise fees at checkout made the experience smooth and reliable. Plus, the on-time ticket delivery and lowest price guaranteed gave me the peace of mind. So if you're doing that for the big game this Sunday, you should use our friends at Gametime and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And now we get back into it with the Washington Nationals less than 3 weeks away from spring training. They open up that game against the Houston Astros on February 22nd. It's a 1:05 p.m. first pitch down at West Palm. And then they stick at home to play against the New York Mets that very next day, 1:05 p.m. And then they have the off day that Monday, the 24th. But this is going to be one of those things where I simply cannot wait for spring training to come. Now, let me say this, because this is going to be a wild ride for the Washington Nationals moving forward. I will tell you this right now. It is looking pretty signed, sealed, and delivered that I will be down at West Palm Beach from March 13th all the way through March 17th on that Monday. So in that time frame, the Nationals have a night game Saturday, 6:05 p.m. They've also got a few more games in there sprinkled in over the weekend. They've got 3 games, really. They've got a doubleheader where they'll have a split squad, guys, where some will be playing against the New York Mets, and some will be at home playing against the Tampa Bay Rays. But can we all just talk about this real quick? The spring breakout game. I cannot wait for that. That is at Friday against the Houston Astros at home. And then also, it's that Sunday at 5:05 p.m. against the New York Mets for that spring breakout game. This is where you're going to see all the top prospects in the organization play against other top prospects, and it is going to be a ton of fun to be able to get to see that. I hope to God, I haven't seen the broadcasting schedule yet. I don't know if 106.7 The Fan will be taking this game. I'm not sure if Masson will be taking this game, but hopefully at least Nationals.com will take that game. As soon as I get that information, I will be able to forward that to all the listeners out there. But everybody, we are just a few weeks away from Major League Baseball happening again. So this will be fun, and I can't wait. It is starting to get a little bit warmer. Besides this morning, it was like 30 degrees. But outside of that, pretty nice day. So I will catch you guys on the flip side. Baseball is just around the corner. Think about that. And of course, go Nats.